Hey Jackets fans, welcome to Boom and Gloom, where I talk about the boom, the good, and the gloom, the bad, of Columbus Blue Jackets hockey. I'm your host, Anthony, and I go by Whaler Jacket on social media, and I am Ohio's longest-suffering hockey fan. You can check out some of my earlier episodes if you would like to hear the story of why I consider that statement to be accurate. I've been actually waiting for a while now to do this episode. I'm so happy to be back with you today because that means we have Jackets news to discuss. I don't do many summer episodes, but when big news drops, I am here to talk about it with you. But before I begin, I want to give a shout out to some potential new listeners. My wife was at the allergist's office today in Huber Heights, Ohio, and she overheard a couple of guys talking about the Blue Jackets. So she said hi to them and told them all about my podcast. And so if you're listening, you two dudes from the allergist's office, hello and welcome. I hope you enjoy the show. So my last episode was about the hiring of Dean Evason as head coach. And I thought to myself, the next big boom, like the next big news would involve Patrik Laine. And I figured he would be traded or they would announce they were out of options and he would be reporting to camp, training camp in the fall. But I was starting to wonder if either would be announced. You know, I thought there was a chance I would not be doing another podcast episode until closer to the start of the season. And then, boom, the news dropped that Laine was traded to the Montreal Canadiens. And let me tell you, folks, in my eyes, this is a significant win for the organization. And I'll explain why and get into all that. But first, I want to address something. And it will directly tie in to what I have to say about the Laine situation. Don Waddell does not anticipate the Jackets will be fighting for a playoff spot this coming season. Now, he didn't tell me this. He didn't announce this. It's just my personal take on the situation. There are signs that I believe point to this being true. Waddell has made some changes to the Jackets defense. He let Bean, Boqvist, and Blankenberg go. But he held on to Provorov, and he signed 37-year-old Jack Johnson to the team, a guy who is not going to win any awards as a top defenseman or certainly not rack up points in the stats department. Jack Johnson is a stopgap, plain and simple. Then you have Jiricek, maybe Matejchuk. Two guys with loads of potential, but little to no experience or success at the NHL level. So this is not an upgraded defense by any means. Okay, this is a defense that is still building or rebuilding, however you want to look at it. You know, if Waddell thought we had a shot at the playoffs, he would have made some other moves to really solidify our defense. Instead, he went with a stopgap approach to let guys like Jiricek and Matejchuk develop. I mean, is there anyone out there that honestly thinks Provorov is still going to be with this team after the trade deadline? Not me. I mean, he's as good as gone in my eyes. So this season is going to be about giving our young guys experience and the time to properly develop. But there's been no sign of an upgrade in any way that is going to reduce the number of pucks going into the back of the Blue Jackets nets this year. So that is one thing that tells me Don Waddell knows we are not going to be in the playoff picture this year. The second thing, Elvis is still on our team. Waddell knew it was going to be near impossible to trade Elvis's contract, and I think he even said it specifically. So he was kept around with no defensive upgrades to assist. Then he goes and signs Jet Greaves to a contract that is a one-way contract in the season after this one. So read between the lines. He feels Elvis will not be back after this season. He's hoping that he starts to regain some of his good form that he had earlier in his career. If that happens, maybe he'll be able to get a trade. What is actually going to happen, I don't know. Trade, buyout, not sure. But the Greaves contract, I think, says a lot about Waddell's intentions. He predicts we are missing the playoffs this season. Now, Dean Evason has had a track record of getting more out of a team than anticipated. So intentions can change. But if he was given some truth serum and you asked him if he thought his team had a good chance to qualify for the playoffs this season, he would tell you no. All right. The lack of moves, acquiring new defensemen, lack of getting Elvis out of here, just holding on to him. I think that's all the evidence you need that says, you know what, Waddell believes we're not making the playoffs this season. So that leads me to the Laine trade. I will say it again. This is a significant win for the Blue Jackets. I know a lot of people out there have expressed disappointment in the return. Jordan Harris for what was given up, Laine and a second-round draft pick. So a lot of people are disappointed with that return. But I see this as a win. Okay, first of all, I think throwing in a second-round pick was worth it for the almost $9 million in cap space the team saves now. I think I read somewhere that there's only two other teams that have more cap space than the Jackets now. So let's think about this for a second. Almost $9 million saved. Some are saying Waddell should have traded for a more significant player and then retained some of Laine's salary. But I say no way. This is the better move. Even if Waddell was able to swing a trade for a more significant player, and I keep using that term, but I just mean someone who adds more to the lineup than Jordan Harris, we'll say. So even if he was able to get a more significant player, would that move catapult the Jackets into playoff contention? I still don't think so. I don't think it would. So, in my opinion, there really wouldn't be any point in bringing in that significant player right now. Instead, you bring in cap space. And since we are not making the playoffs this season, again, just assuming that's what Don Waddell is thinking, and assuming Dean Evason is not going to work a miracle, you hold on to that cap space. You bank it. While the Juraceks and the Matejchuks, the Fantillis, the Lindstroms, and others, while they gain experience and they develop, so that when they are ready, when the Jackets are ready to dominate, and when those players dominate or at least become solid, high caliber players that we expect them to be, we have some room. We have some cap room now to add some key final pieces of the puzzle to the roster. Something to get them over that edge. There's no point in spending close to the cap right now. If the playoffs are out of reach this season and one player is not going to fix that, there's no point in spending to the cap. Or, another way to look at this, we can further bolster our future with some additional draft picks if Waddell decides to use that cap space to maybe take on some expiring bad contracts from another team. So I see the extra $9 million or 8.7 or whatever it is, I see that as a boon. And people, I think, have to realize this is no longer Jarmo Kekalainen's team. This is Don Waddell's team. He's going to do things differently than Jarmo. I mean, Jarmo always talked about weaponizing cap space, but he never did. But Don Waddell is not Jarmo. So let's see what he does with that $9 million in savings. Even if it's nothing, even if he just banks it and uses it for a future push for this team, I would be fine with that. And I have to say, I've been, following this whole situation on Twitter, and I've noticed a lot of comments from Carolina Hurricanes fans. And a lot of them say, just you wait. Just you wait. Don Waddell is going to make moves, and you're going to think, how the heck did he pull that off? So that's good to hear. That leads me to believe that he might do something with that cap space. He might, in fact, quote unquote, weaponize it. But the bottom line is that I'm very happy with this trade. For what I have read, Jordan Harris, he's a decent, solid defenseman with some potential upside. And I'm seeing people rave about his personality. Like they're talking about he's just a downright good person, a good kid. He's like fun to talk to, and he's just, says the right things in interviews. So that's great. I'm good with that return. Count me in. But the two things I am most satisfied with or good with regarding this trade, number one, the $8.7 million or whatever it is now off the books. Waddell actually found a team to take on Laine's entire salary with nothing retained. And number two, Patrik Laine is no longer a Columbus Blue Jacket. Now, I said it before, okay? I said it the day we acquired him from Winnipeg. I was not sold on Patrik Laine. I saw him from the start as a one-trick pony. He was not the superstar that is worth a $9 million contract. I saw him, and I still see him as a one-trick pony. Okay, he has an amazing shot. Amazing. But he was almost constantly injured. He didn't seem to play a complete, well-rounded game. I mean, there were times that I know this is just opinion, this is just observation, but it just often seemed like he was even disinterested. Like he wasn't giving it his all. And I'm not saying he wasn't, I'm just saying to me that's what it seemed like at times. So he was a big dude too who didn't play a physical game. But he happened to have a world-class shot. So I worried about him on the Jackets from the very beginning. I hoped I was wrong, but it appears I was not. And now we start hearing about him having complaints or issues within the Jackets locker room. I'm not sure what that was all about, and I'm not sure we ever will know. But I find it kind of interesting that he seemed to have locker room issues in Winnipeg. Like, he had some problems with some of the players there. And then he comes here and has locker room issues in Columbus. At some point, you have to look at the common denominator. You have to wonder if he was the problem, or at least part of the problem. And I'm just speculating here, okay, and pointing out that as a possibility. There's no way to know for sure. I'm not saying I believe it or not. I'm just saying it's a possibility. And I doubt that kind of thing will ever come to light. And I've probably way overthought this, but I think there's a chance that some super snoopers will be able to make some reasonable theories based on his future wedding photos. So Laine recently got engaged. So when the wedding happens, there will no doubt be photos, maybe some video posted on social media. And I'm sure we'll see some of his former Blue Jackets teammates in attendance. And I don't think he'd invite people, former players, former teammates that he didn't get along with in the locker room. So at that point, there will probably be some theories, some speculation about who Laine had problems with based on the guest list at his wedding. But the bottom line is that if a player does not want to be in Columbus for whatever reason, then I don't want him in Columbus. So I'm very glad Waddell was able to move him out. Despite all those locker room comments, he still seemed to me like a nice enough guy off the ice. And he did, I know he had that foundation for mental health, and that's fantastic. So it wasn't like he was a jerk off the ice. He seemed like a nice enough guy. I know he signed lots of autographs at that summer league. I forget what it was called. But he signed autographs. He talked with fans. So he seemed like a good guy. And I'm sorry that he had mental health issues. I really am, as someone who has dealt with mental health issues myself. I'm sorry that he had mental health issues, allegedly. And I'm sorry that he got injured so much. I mean, that's got to be hard for a professional athlete who's, trying to get back to that form, that 40 goal per season form. But the fact is, he simply was not working out in Columbus. He did not work out, just to put it bluntly. He did not become what the Jackets hoped he would become. I'm going to say it here, okay? I'm going to say it, and maybe I shouldn't call him this, but I can't think of any other way to say it. He was a bust, all right? He was a bust in Columbus. And as many issues as I had with Jarmo's handling of this team, I really can't put too much blame on him for acquiring Laine in the first place. I mean, that was the best he could do with the bad situation, the horrible situation that Pierre-Luc Dubois put this team in. But the $9 million contract, I did have a problem with that. Okay, I did not like that amount one bit. I saw it as a huge overpayment. I never saw Laine as a guy the Jackets could make into a franchise all-star forward. And that's the kind of contract you give to a franchise all-star forward. If Laine was a 90 points a year guy, then yeah, you hand him that contract. But backing the money truck up to him for the type of player that he is, not wise. I mean, Jarmo was banking on his return to the 40 goal per season form. And obviously he didn't get to that form again. So here we are. And oh, by the way, I guess one way to look at this is we traded Pierre-Luc Dubois, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick for Jordan Harris. I mean, when you do all the branching, I guess I forget what it's called, a trade tree or something like that, a trade map, I forget, where you can see all the different deals that branch off from one or the other. So, yeah, ultimately the Jackets traded their number one center and a third overall pick, meaning Pierre-Luc Dubois, and some draft picks for Jordan Harris. Sucks to think of it like that. And I know that's just, one different way to look at it. But I'm really glad the Jackets no longer have to deal with PLD either. But it just sucks. You think about that. The Jackets, I hate to use the word earn, but they earned that number 3 overall pick that year for PLD with their poor play. They earned it. And then they trade for the second overall pick, which was Patrik Laine. And then they end up having to practically give him away. But that's hockey sometimes. It sucks, but that's the way it is. And again, I'm happy that Patrik Laine is no longer on the Blue Jackets. This is a good thing for the organization, a good thing for its future. And for those complaining about the lost second-round pick, the pick that the Jackets seemed to throw in, that was probably thrown in to help the Canadiens accept Laine's full salary. It was a sweetener. And I'm not too bummed about the lost pick because the Jackets already have a pretty stocked pipeline. Plus, they're more they're most likely going to get more draft picks this season when guys like Provorov and Danforth are shipped out, most likely at the trade deadline. Plus, another thing, we have been rebuilding for like 25 years, right? I mean, that's what it seems like. I know we had some good years mixed in there, but overall, it just seems like this franchise we've been suffering for 25 years. I'd prefer to worry less about the draft picks who might possibly someday become good players. I want to start thinking about this team being a contender in the near future. Which brings me to my next point, okay? I told you that the Jackets will not be fighting for a playoff spot this year, and Don Waddell knows this. Well, I also think the Jackets will be fighting for a playoff spot next season, the 25-26 season. The experience, the development of our young stars, the moves that I anticipate Waddell will make, a better defense, a better goaltending situation, we have a better coach in place, a new system, practically a new front office. Yes, I understand. I know Mike Priest is still there. I know JD's still there. I get that. But Waddell's new GM, new president. So I think the 25-26 season is where we'll start to see the Jackets run beginning. And if I'm wrong and the Jackets become world beaters this season, so be it. I am not going to argue about that. I'm not going to complain. I would love to admit I was wrong. But I will be content with this being the last true season of rebuilding. And I think this Laine trade was a big piece. What else? All right. Since my last episode, just some other quick little tidbits. KJ, Kent Johnson, was signed to a 2-year contract. A fantastic team-friendly contract, and I love it. KJ gets 2 years to show he can start putting up better numbers, being a more well-rounded player. Then if all goes well, he gets a bigger payday in 2 years. And there comes into play that banked salary cap space that I was talking about earlier. And if it doesn't work out after 2 years, he can be jettisoned from the roster. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but it's a possibility. But I love the deal. So let's see what KJ can do. Hopefully he is healed up and ready to get back to work for the season. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick, The Athletic ranked the Jackets dead last in terms of what they call dead salary. I guess in other words, what that means is getting the most bang for your buck. And they were ranked dead last. Now, that was before the Laine trade, so of course I'm not sure where they would be now. But it just sucks to read that, okay? You'd think after all these years, we'd have something to show for all the time we put in, all the frustration we've experienced as fans, instead of just, one single playoff series win. So when you read articles like that, it just hurts. The article referenced the Elvis contract and the Gaudreau contracts being like albatrosses in relationship to their performance. So I get it. But still, it just sucks to read that after being a fan for so long. But here's hoping Elvis can somehow, some way, find his game, and that reuniting with Monahan invigorates Gaudreau, and we start seeing the numbers that he was putting up in Calgary, or at least close to it. Finally, something non-Blue Jackets to talk about. I saw a video recently that showed all 32 Fanatics jerseys on display. Is that really what Utah is going to wear this year? I mean, that's just a practice jersey with the word Utah written on it in boring block letters. I mean, this team played in an embarrassment of an arena last year. Now they move to a new city and have all this energy, and they have to wear that embarrassment of a uniform? This is the best they could have done? They really couldn't come up with a name in time? I mean, and they really couldn't just throw some stripes on the jersey to dress it up a little bit? Hopefully it's just a prototype and the final jersey will have some nice striping and kind of make it look a little bit more NHL-ish, a little bit more top level of hockey-ish. But I tell you what, I would be embarrassed to even offer that for sale at the pro shop to fans. I mean, at the team store. That's embarrassing. I mean, heck, you can just buy a practice jersey online, a black practice jersey for $20 and stitch the 4 letters on it, and boom, you have a Utah jersey. I just don't think it's a good look for the team, or even the NHL for that matter. I mean, I really think they could have done a much better job with the whole branding process. I mean, even if you couldn't get a logo in place, have a name. All right? I mean, just have it. Just pick a name. We all know it's going to be the Yeti anyway, right? I mean, that seems to be what was the top name choice, or what people predicted from the beginning. So just announce that from the start and let the fans start enjoying it, even without an actual logo, and start building your brand and harnessing that energy that the new city's bringing to this team. And for God's sake, put out a decent jersey, even if it's a temporary one. I will say this though, that new Anaheim Ducks jersey, that's fire. I mean, possibly the best jersey in the league now. So well done, Anaheim. And that's all I got, guys. We'll have to see if any other news drops between now and the start of the season. I know Don Waddell did mention that the minute the Laine trade went down, he did have some calls from some other NHL teams who are over the cap or were really looking to get some cap space themselves. So they were trying to sell them on some bad contracts. So I guess it is possible that we'll see some more signings or some trades. And when that happens, then maybe I'll hop on again. But right now, if nothing goes down, I'm thinking that my next episode will be close to training camp or the preseason when some more Blue Jackets news breaks. So until then, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about the Jackets. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you'll come back and listen another time. If you would like to reach out to me, please feel free. I would love to hear from you, hear any questions you have. If you want to request to come on the show, I'm always interested in having guests. I'm not a big fan of just like reaching out and inviting people. I feel like I'm pestering them almost. But if you are interested in coming on and talking Blue Jackets with me, by all means, send me a message and I'll have you on the show. So you can reach me, find me on social media, just search for Whaler Jacket. So WHALER Jacket on social media. So Instagram, Twitter, I'm out there. You can find me. Till next time, we'll talk to you guys again. Take care. Go Jackets.